everybody to another edition of Bamcomixs. I'm your host OC, and this time we're going to talk about episode 4. We kindly interrupt your program to make you a special announcement. Wandavision. Wanda has a vision. This is Wanda's vision. We're in the world of Wandavision. And guess what? Now people are coming back in the aftermath of the blip, guys. So if you like the channel and if you like our videos, please help us out. Hit that subscribe, hit that follow, hit that like, leave us comments down below if there's anything I missed or what did you think of this episode. So to jump right into it, this episode review, people are coming back, guys. This is the aftermath of Endgame, when Stark snaps his fingers, but before that, when the Hulk snaps his fingers and brings everybody back. So we see at the beginning of this episode in WandaVision that Geraldine Rambo's in the hospital and her mom Monica Rambo is nowhere to be found. But Geraldine, whose little dust particles are forming her in the midst of the blip, people in this hospital are blipping back to life. Where's my mom? Geraldine asks. It looks like it's been several years that have passed already, but definitely Geraldine is back. So this is a more Geraldine focused story with a couple of surprise guests, guys, that we saw from the trailer, but now we're seeing them in WandaVision. Turns out that when Geraldine comes back, her mom was actually the founder of this shield-like organization called SWORD. And SWORD stands for, of course, the Sentient Weapon Observation and Research Division. You gotta love how Marvel uses these acronyms, SWORD, SHIELD, you know, and we see like kind of like a little bit of a similarity with SHIELD. So anyway, Geraldine goes to the base because that's where she worked, and there's this director guy who informs her that, of course, that her mom founded all of this. You know, she's the founder and built it from the ground up, SWORD. But sentient weapons? Things like, you know, people like sentient weapons. We're talking about like beings that are like walking like WMDs. Like, of course, Captain Marvel. Or Wanda, right? Scarlet Witch, who can like cause massive damage on a massive scale. So there's this program, there's this facility, and the head of this facility informs Geraldine that the FBI is on a missing case in New Jersey. She's got to go out there, help this FBI, use this drone, and guess who's the FBI agent is none other than Jimmy Woo, baby. Jimmy Woo, who's the special agent of the FBI. Jimmy Woo, who's the special agent who's in charge. He's large and in charge, and we saw him in, of course, Ant-Man and the Wasp, right? Where there's such character development, right? We see that Jimmy now knows how to do the card trick. Remember that Scott Lang had his little magic card tricks in Ant-Man and the Wasp, and Jimmy always asks Scott, how do you do those card tricks, right? He's always asking Scott. It's like, you want to go out to dinner? He really wants to be friends with Scott Lang. So apparently maybe they went out to dinner, maybe they're friends now, because as soon as Jimmy comes out to introduce himself, he's like, Jimmy Woo, FBI, and a card magically appears from his hand. No doubt he learned that from Scott, the little magic trick. So I thought that was a nice little nod to the Ant-Man and the Wasp. It seems that now in this episode we have the whole picture of what's going on. So no more theories. Unfortunately, I had a theory about going back to the Civil War, the Sokovia Accords, and I had a theory about Mysterio's imaging tech. And so it looks like none of that is happening, and what's really going on is that Wanda is creating this alternate reality in the reality of people who are coming back after the blip, okay? So turns out that as soon as Geraldine comes to investigate in New Jersey and meets with Jimmy to investigate a missing persons case in Westview, we see them question two officers who are right outside of the energy field. They have no idea of the existence of Westview despite standing right outside of Westview. So what ends up happening is that Geraldine goes up, she sees an energy field, right? She goes up to where the energy field is. Jimmy's like, oh, girl, stand down, chill. You don't know what's beyond that field. And she gets sucked into the energy field. And it's basically, this episode is taking place simultaneously as the episodes 1, 2, and 3. So here we actually see that while episodes 1, 2, and 3 are going on, this episode does not really advance the timeline or the story, but it is running concurrently to the main story that's happening. So while Wanda and Vision are in their sitcom, we see here the other side of the coin, right? We see the other side of the story, which is the SWORD operatives, the FBI, the Army. It's a joint multi-disciplinary task force that is tasked with trying to solve this anomaly that's going on in the energy field in Westview in New Jersey. So, who do they call in but our good friend Darcy Lewis? Darcy, who we haven't seen since Thor, Thor 1, Thor the Dark World. Darcy, who of course was the intern to Jane Foster's character. Darcy, who of course was the intern to Jane Foster and who worked with Selvig, is in this episode, and now she's back with full force, given the proper respect she deserves as a strong, independent female scientist who you can't really mess with. So she's got tons of experience in this area of crazy phenomena. So they bring her in with a couple of other scientists to investigate what's happening, right? So Rambo's gone, another missing persons case, so now that makes 2 from the original missing persons case, so we don't even know who that original person was that Jimmy was trying to look for in the first place, but we know now that we have a couple of missing people. And as they try to piece together what's happening in the puzzle of this mysterious dome energy, we see that Darcy stumbles onto a type of signal that sort of like occurred from the Big Bang, which is a universal radio wave signal that when she uses her equipment to analyze it, they discover that there is a sitcom coming through this signal. So just as Jimmy says, so the universe conspired to make a sitcom starring 2 Avengers? What's going on here? So it looks like we were just as confused as SWORD was. Turns out they aren't an evil organization. They're just an organization that monitors sentient weapons and beings that cause mass power levels of destruction. And I guess they need to keep them in check and monitor them. They have to keep them in check. They have to monitor them. They have to observe and report on the threats that are going on all around the world, and threats from outer space and aliens, and also allies. So it looks like what's end up happening is that all of the other questions that we had in the previous episode, like where did this little helicopter drone come from, where's this beekeeper, these are answered in this episode, as those were attempts from SWORD to penetrate the interior of the dome and try to observe and report on the anomalies that are going on inside of this energy field. So they're actually playing clips of previous episodes, and they are analyzing, they put it up on a whiteboard, and they're analyzing the people who are in the community of Westview. You see Jimmy, he's writing down, why is the town or the energy field in a hexagon shape? He's writing down questions that I'm thinking to myself in my mind, these are really good questions. Maybe it's in a hexagon shape because it is in the shape of one of the Infinity Stones. Maybe that is why it's in a hexagon shape. Who knows? That's just a guess. But there's a reference to our reality or the reality, of course, of everyone who's living outside the dome, when Geraldine mentions that Wanda's brother, Pietro, was killed by Ultron. When the name Ultron comes up, Jimmy gives like this surprised look. Jimmy was actually trying to communicate with Wanda through the radio. So that voice that we heard in the earlier episodes was actually Jimmy trying to communicate and reach out to Wanda through this radio. Now, it looks like the forces that are causing little breaks in Wanda's consciousness are coming into more prominent position, because as soon as Ultron is mentioned, Wanda blasts Geraldine out of the field. Okay, so she's no longer in play. So she's a stranger and an outsider. The show is getting darker. It looks like what's happening now is that we know that this has been all a fabrication, as at the end of the episode, when they find, of course, Geraldine Rambeau, she ends the episode with saying, it's been Wanda, it's Wanda all of this time. So it looks like this is a reality that Wanda is created. But before we go, let's talk about that big moment, guys, at the end of the episode, where when Vision comes back to ask where Geraldine is, we see a vision of a dead Vision, sort of a zombie Vision, missing the stone the way he looked when Thanos murdered him. And that was freaky, to say the least. That was like, I got taken aback. And you see him as a sort of a zombie dead Vision from where the moment that Thanos murdered him to reclaim the stone. And it was unsettling, to say the least. It was just sort of like that dark horror that I think this show is going to start to veer into. So we already had our established moment in the exposition of the introduction of the characters and the world. And now that that has been created, now that that foundation is in place, now the screenwriters and the actors are free to move on to the next phase, which is the middle conflict ground of how are the forces outside the dome going to tackle with the energy inside of the dome. How can this energy be controlled or released, or even like how can they get to those missing people? So it's going to be very interesting where this show heads next. Based on the trailers of the show, we know that eventually the military does come into the dome, and Wanda actually defines this as her home. This is her own place. This is her world. And what's so interesting is that the title of the show is called WandaVision, and now after this episode, everything is coming even into a more of a clear idea of what we're getting. It's just, this is like, the show is called WandaVision. They're watching a show within a show in a show, right? And it's Wanda's vision. This is the way Wanda sees the world. So we have WandaVision, which is Wanda and Vision, two characters. WandaVision, the TV show that's been created, and Wanda's vision, which is her vision of the way she sees the world. And this dome inside of here, it's her protective home, and she's willing to, despite the reality that has happened, she is willing to protect and safeguard this reality from any and all outsiders, strangers, and intruders who threaten to break this frame. And she's not having any of it. So she blasts her out of the dome. That's the way she likes it. And no one is coming in here to endanger her world and endanger her family. So this is going to be a crazy confrontation to see how SWORD is going to respond to this. What's their next move? How are they going to rescue the citizens of Westview? And how they're going to deal with the psychic energy, because Wanda is so powerful. I don't know how they're going to manage it. So guys, this has been our review. It was a great episode, with the exception of like the only thing that I feel that, you know, at the end of this episode, I was just left wanting more. And it's not a 35-minute episode, despite the fact that it says 35 minutes. You're actually getting 28 minutes of the episode. The rest of it is the end credits, But I just feel with Marvel here that at Disney that at least give us like the full 35 minutes, right? Don't give us the 28 and then give us, although I love the episode, I was left wanting so much more, guys, and I had to go and watch The Mandalorian again, like one episode of that, because I feel that each episode should be inclusive yet connected to the others, and it was just like, so like, oh man, the episode ended already, I gotta wait another week for like 20 minutes of it. So that's been my review, guys. I give it a 4 out of 5 stars. I mean, I think that when this show ends, the people who are really going to enjoy it even the most are those that have waited until all of the episodes were done and then just watch. I mean, probably not many are just going to do that, but to wait until all the episodes are done and then watch it straight through, those people are going to have a blast watching it for the first time like that. But as for me, I was just so like, come on, guys, give us half an hour, okay? Other than that, it was a great episode. 4 out of 5 stars, just for that little missing factor that I was like, man, I just want more. Thanks for watching, guys. This has been OC from Bam Comics. Have an awesome week. Have an awesome day. Stay cool. Keep collecting. And stay tuned for more reviews, news, and updates as our channel grows. Please hit that like and subscribe to support our channel. We're going to be doing a lot of great things coming up, and just stay tuned for the next Bam Comics video review. This has been your host, OC, and I'll see you on the next one, guys. Peace. Don't forget to hit that subscribe, guys.